The models have escaped containment. This story and more on your weekly cybersecurity news roundup. I'm Allie Diamond, and this is ThreatWire. OpenAI was benchmarking an unreleased pre-release model plus their already shipped GPT 5.5 Sol against exploit gem. In YOLO fashion, the researchers at OpenAI decided to let the models run with the guardrails off. Instead, they attempted to air-gap it, give it only the ability to pull packages from public registries and nothing else. Instead of solving the benchmark, the model decided cheating was faster. In order to achieve its goals, it used significant compute time and processing to try and figure out how to exit its containment and get open internet access. If you don't know what exploit gem is, which I didn't, it's an 898 task evaluation built off real previously disclosed vulnerabilities. The point of the benchmark is to see if an AI can convert known bugs into working exploits. The models identified and chained vulnerabilities across OpenAI's research environment and Hugging Face's production infrastructure to obtain test solutions directly from Hugging Face's production database. So, in attempting to solve the task at hand and after gaining internet access, the model inferred Hugging Face was probably hosting exploit gem's reference solutions. The model used stolen credentials and 0 days chained together to get remote code execution on Hugging Face's production server. Hugging Face saw this happening 5 days before OpenAI spoke up about it. Earlier this week, we detected and responded to an intrusion in part of our production infrastructure. This one was different from anything we had handled before in one important way. It was driven, end-to-end, by an autonomous AI agent. In reviewing the incident, responders at Hugging Face attempted to use commercial AI models to review the logs from the attacks, and in the most ironic way possible, they were blocked. Why? Because dissecting real exploit payloads and C2 artifacts looks identical to an attacker requesting the same thing. They ended up doing forensics on an AI-run attack using their own hosted and open-weight GLM 5.2 instead. Through the analysis, they weren't able to learn too much. We do not know which model powered the agent's attacks, whether a jailbroken, hosted model, or an unrestricted open-weight one. Either way, the attacker was bound by no usage policy, while our own forensic work was blocked by the guardrails of hosted models we first tried. OpenAI connected the dots 5 days later and came forward July 21st through the guise of a partnership between OpenAI and Hugging Face to address the security incident. As an apology for their oopsie, OpenAI has inducted Hugging Face into their Trusted Access program to allow the use of their models to improve defenses. So, TLDR, OpenAI said, "Run free, my child." But then when the child did something bad, they did not see it. Then Hugging Face tried to use said models to learn more, and the AI companies were like, "No, thank you." So when Hugging Face called them out, OpenAI said, "Oh my god, so sorry, you can have something in exchange, it's fine." Anyway, we've reached the singularity point where models are doing whatever they want, which is so great, I guess. Samuel Tunnock is tied to the Stop Cop City movement. Flying back to Atlanta from the Dominican Republic on January 24th, 2025, he got pulled into secondary inspection. His phone was a Pixel running Graphene OS, and the agents demanded a passcode, and he did give them one. The issue is what that passcode did. It was an emergency wipe passcode. Putting it in flashed the entire OS and restarted the phone from zero. Graphene OS lets you set a second unlock code called a Duress pin, which deletes the encryption keys and force wipes the entire device. It shipped in June 2024. Prosecutors charged him under a statute written to criminalize destroying evidence to keep it from being seized, which can lead to up to 5 years in prison. His attorneys says that he had been flagged on a terrorism watch list over the protest association, which he was unaware of. Graphene OS weighed in, explaining that the Duress feature is not required by users. Graphene OS has strong defenses against data extraction. It heavily builds upon the standard security features provided by Android 17 and the most secure hardware available for Android. Disk encryption provides strong protection for data. Even the most sophisticated attackers aren't going to be directly breaking it. They either need to exploit the OS while in after first unlock state or brute force the pin/password. If persecutors win, using the documented opt-in security feature can become criminalized. A federal judge is expected to rule on Tunic's motion by October, and that ruling could decide whether "my data destroyed itself" is legitimate defense or a confession. This would be a new application of the law. So I'm curious to know, do you have a Duress pin set up? Are you thinking about setting one up? Does this change your risk model at all? PyPI introduced a major change in the attempt to fight off supply chain attacks. PyPI will now reject any new files uploaded to a release that is more than 14 days after the release first went live. Just because we are talking a lot about AI, the world hasn't forgotten about software supply chain issues. This change will protect Python users and reduce the amount of cleanup work associated with project compromises for PyPI admins. This restriction also means that compromises don't put releases into an undeterminate and confusing state of both compromised and not compromised, where only a subset of files could be poisoned with malware. The idea to do this was first introduced in January 2024, and it got rough consensus at the 2026 Packaging Summit. But they also ran the statistics to go along with this. Originally, the discussion stalled due to some projects depending on this behavior to add support for new Python versions to already published releases. To quantify how disruptive this change would be to existing workflows, the PyPI database was queried for projects that had published new files to old releases, bucketed by number of days since the release. Later, specifically CP314, wheels were queried for the top 1,500 packages, revealing that only 56 of the 1,500 packages published a 3.14 compatible wheel more than 14 days after the release was available. The patch to execute the new file rejections was merged on July 8th, 2026. Thank you so much for watching ThreatWire for the week of July 27th, 2026. If you want to enjoy the show, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I do see people commenting saying, "Ali asked for a comment, so I am commenting," and I really do appreciate you. We're going to publish a second episode this week, kind of talking a little bit about DEF CON. I filmed it last week. I'll give an outro right now, but instead of a little outro, I wanted to give you the video of me unboxing. Wait, I have to go get it. My apartment's a mess right now. I've been cleaning my cables, and if anyone understands cleaning 5 years of cable buildup, it's just all over my floor right now, so I'm trying to move my chair, but I can't move. Hold on. I filmed a little video of me unboxing this. Filming reveal. I filmed a video of me unboxing this, except I was in full tears, and I feel like that is what I want to include as the outro for this. And so if you want to watch that, stay tuned. If not, thank you so much for watching. If you want to find me online and see where I originally posted the video of me unboxing this, you can find me at Ending with Ali on everything, including Minecraft. So be sure to please go follow me over on Instagram. And if not, I will see you over at DEF CON next week. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, good luck, have fun, and don't get caught.